Welcome to our third video in this web scraping series. Today we're going to be taking a look at selectors within Beautiful Soup. We're going to be using the same data set that we did within find versus find all. We're going to start off with some basic HTML code based around running races. And then our second example is going to use a real website. And we're going to jump into essentially grabbing books and prices and titles from that website. We're going through about 20 different examples, I believe, in this video. So make sure to grab a notebook and yeah, let's start coding in Python. All right, let's jump right into it. We're going to start off with importing in a few things. So import requests, right? From BS4, import Beautiful Soup. Import Beautiful Soup. Import pandas as PD. And then lastly, import RE. Once you have all of these, you should be good to go and we can get started. Now, what we're going to do is start off by having some HTML here. Now, I don't remember if this is exactly one-to-one what we used last lesson, but it's going to be very close. So what I recommend is you go to the article, which will be linked down below in the description. Just copy the HTML and continue to follow along because I don't expect you guys to write all this out. Much more efficient to go to the website article, right? So we're gonna just have that over here. And then what we're gonna do is up next, say soup HTML. So soup HTML equals beautiful soup, and then HTML, and then we're gonna say HTML parser. That's cool. And yeah, so now what we can do is start with our HTML examples. So we're going to look at select versus select one. Personally, I use select instead of select one, but since we're covering this as selectors, I'm going to cover both, right? So with that out of the way, let's talk about our first example. So we'll say example one, which is going to be taking a look at select one. And this is going to be for an H2 tag. Now, we have a lot of H2 tags in the HTML above. I'll show you that in a second. But we're just going to do soup HTML, right? We're going to say dot select one. And then we're going to look for an H2. So we'll just put over here as H2. And what you'll see is we grab 50 mile races. And that's going to be the first H2 tag, right? So we go down over here and look, right there, 50 mile races, H2. And we have class selection title 50, right? But it's our H2, 50 mile races, just like that. Boom, we grab that first select one, right? But this grabs everything. Some people just want to have the text, so let's do that. So we'll go over here to example two, just get the text. And all we're gonna have to do is copy the same exact code over here, and then say get text. You could do this with regex also, but it's so easy just to say .get text. And check it out, we have 50 mile races over here. All right, let's take a look at another example. So let's say we want to grab bold text. So example 3, which is bold, which is you're going to see this as strong, right? Something to pick up if you're not too familiar with HTML. But we'll go over here to say soup HTML select one. Strong, get text. And again, we'll grab the first bold on here, and it says all races start at 6 a.m. sharp. For some people, that may seem pretty early. And I think when I ran my 100 miler last year, it was either 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. I can't remember that we started. I want to say it was 5 a.m. Ultras start really early in comparison to other races, but or really late. It just depends on the race or at a random time. I don't like those type of races, but some people do. And yeah, if we look for strong on here, where is this at? I think it's at the bottom. There we go. Right, we have two strong statements in it. You see it just picks up the first one over here, right? So now let's stop using select one because again, unless you're trying to grab the first copy on a web page, I don't really find that as helpful. So we're going to say example 4 over here. And we're just going to grab paragraphs. So P, and we're going to use select, right? So this is nice because now we'll grab everything. So we'll just go over here and say soup HTML right? We'll say dot select and then just pass in paragraph like that. And you can see we have all these paragraphs throughout this HTML. They're going to be listed right down over here, right? All right. And if you want to grab, the first select, the second, the third, right? Which again, why I don't like using select one, because you can just do that with select. Let me show you that. So we'll say example 5, grab specific P. All right, and then just to type in the code. So soup html.select, again, same code as above. But then you can specify, so let's say we want to get the select one version, which would be 0, because Python always starts at 0. We're going to also use what we did above and just grab the text. So I'll say get text like that. Right, that's our first one. And I'll just do 2 and 3. So we'll do 2 and 3. Right, so we'll just do 1, 2, and again. Right, so we have August 10th, 2025, Boulder, Colorado. And again, it just goes up over here. I'm not going to go all the way through HTML code, right? So 0, 1, 2. Well, I guess I am going to go up over here, right? And if you look for the first paragraph, right? Paragraph, paragraph, and then paragraph. So that's why it grabbed all that information. All right, so now what I want to do is just show you, like, you can print all this stuff. So we're going to say print all. So example 6, print all. And this is going to be easy. So we're going to say all P over here equals soup HTML dot select P. Right, so we have that over here. This will grab all the paragraphs, which will look like this, right? But let's say you want to print these one by one. And just write a basic for loop. And if you're new to for loops, like, you have to know for loops for web scraping. I'm sorry. So make sure to watch my video on for loops, and like, you could pick that up in within an hour or so. Not expert level, but like at least know what's going on in this code to get by, right? So, and then just get text like that. So for P and all P, so essentially, like, I call this all P, right? It's going to grab each of these paragraphs going over here, and then we're just going to print the text, which I've showed you multiple times. Get text just grabs the text on that, right? So it's going to go one by one and print all of those out, and you can see all of those have been printed out. All right, cool. Now, it's pretty common also to grab the links. So this is grabbing href. And from a SEO background, there's a tool called hrefs. So every time I just see href, it always reminds me of that more than a link, because I use that tool quite a lot back when I was in college and doing SEO work, way before I found out about data analytics, data science, and all that. Don't regret it, but I still wish I knew about all this earlier. Anyways, html.select, and we'll go over here and say A, and you can see that we grabbed all these. Now, these over here, right, I didn't put a fictitious link. So this would just go like races 50, races 100, and I didn't mean to click that. These links do not exist because Ryan Data Races does not exist. I'm not going to create a company based around running races, right? It's enough work already to make YouTube videos, but and you don't make much on YouTube videos. But regardless, you have all this on here for all these links. All right. What I wanted to do right now is just grab the link portion of this. So sometimes you just want to scrape all the links on a web page. So let me show you how you could do that. So this gives you all the information, right? We'll go over here, example 8, just grab href link. And what we're going to do is just say a element equals, and we're just going to copy this code over here. Okay, so we have that. And then what we're going to do is do another for loop. So we'll just say for link in a element. We're just going to say print link, and then you just grab your href like that. And there we go. Now we have all the links over here, and we are good to go. And again, it's the same capacity, right? Like if you wanted to grab, oh, what's the third link? You could just go over here and grab your A elements, right? We're going to say we're going to grab the third link, so 2, and then just pass in href. So href like that, and boom, there we go. That's the link for Rocky Mountain, right? The first link on here with the actual full URL. And yeah, so there's that. Okay. Let's talk about grabbing IDs now. So hopefully this makes sense so far, right? You can just grab like paragraphs. We showed you how to grab bold, which was with strong, headers. We showed you how to grab everything with the text. But there's a link, showed you how to grab the specific links. Now what we're going to do is grab IDs. So we're going to say example 9, grab an ID. So ID like that. And all we're going to do on here is say soup html.select. And let's say we want to grab everything with the races 100 ID. So races 100 like that. And you can see it selects all this, right? We go back up over here. Way up, right? You can see ID races 100. That's section ID. And it grabs everything in over here. Quite common to use as well. All right, we're going to look at Descendants for example 10. So example 10, Descendants. I should say 10, not 12. Descendants. All right. And now what we're going to do over here is say soup HTML dot select. And we're going to look at over here h3.race name. And we're going to grab the A tags that are descendants of the race name, right? So it's going to look for the H3 race name, and it's going to grab all the descendants under all of those. You'll see we have 4. And then what we're going to do next is show you direct descendants, which only gives you the next one in line directly under this class H3 race name, right? So it's going to be the same results, but let me show you how we can do that really quick, and then I'll explain that. So example 11, direct descendants. My spelling's on point for this video. Geez, I misspelled twice. That's all right. And what we'll do is say that, and this time we need to have that over here. So this specifies it has to be a direct dependent, and you'll see that, or not dependent, but descendant. And just going back up over here, right? Why this works. So let's just go over here, right? So we have H3 class race name. So this is the descendant and also the direct descendant, right? And we have nothing else over here. Again, we have H3 race name. This is the descendant and direct descendant of that race name. So that's why it works there. And it's the same thing for the 50 milers, right? So technically this works for both these. It's going to see the same exact results, which you'll see like when you do web scraping, there's a lot of ways to get the results that you want. There's not always going to be just one specific solution. So maybe ask 2 data scientists to scrape a website, and they could provide you 2 different solutions, right? Not only could use different things, whether it's like a Beautiful Soup or like a Selenium, but like within even Beautiful Soup, there's multiple ways you could grab things from a web page if you want. And I even showed you that in the last video, right? But over here, right, this is just any descendant. This is going to be direct descendants. So hopefully that clears that up. Okay. Now what we're going to do is take a look at another example. So we're going to look at example 12 over here. And this is going to be after an element siblings. So after element siblings. So in this example, we're going to look at paragraphs after the H3 tag, I think. Yeah, paragraphs after the H3 tag. And let's jump into that. All we're going to do on this side of things is say soup HTML.select. Then we're going to pass in our H3 over here, and then we're going to have the squiggly and then CP over here, right? So what this is going to look for is that paragraph tag, and it doesn't matter like how many different elements are after the H3. It's going to look for the first paragraph tag after it, and then it's going to use that specifically, right? And this is helpful if it's not immediately after, but it is after in some capacity. And you can see we grabbed all of these right over here, right? So there's some race information. Again, date, location, etc. across the board. All right. Now we're going to jump into example 13. 13, which is an element in one of 2 classes. So what we can do on this side of things is say sections equals soup.html, soup HTML.select, and then put in the closest, so section.race 50, section.race 100, like that. All right, we have our sections. I have an error, and my error, let me just double check. Oh, I misspelled select. There we go. Cool. And what we're going to do is just print this stuff out now. So we're going to say for section in sections, right? We're going to say the title equals section dot find. We're changing this up a little bit. We're going to use what we did in the last video, find all. We'll say dot text strip. And then I print this out with an F string, section title, right? Pass in title over here. And not sure only why one populated here. Oh, and once again, my spelling is on point. I made 2 errors here. Misspelled section. So rerun this. I'm like, why am I only getting one section title? And now you can see you get both the section titles, right? So we're just finding the H2, stripping everything away, so just the text, right? And it's either in section race 50 or section race 100, right? Either of those on that side of things. All right. Now we're going to look at an example. So we're going to go here to example 14. Just elements in both classes, right? So what we're going to do in this section is say race 50 section equals soup html.select, and we're going to say section.race section.race 50. I believe that's what I have. I'm just going to double check. Oops. Yeah, no typos over here. All right, and then what we're going to do also is say race 50 section v2 equals soup html.select section.race 50.race section. And I'm just showing you that these are going to be the same results, right? The order doesn't matter on this side of things. And I'll save you guys some time. We'll just do another print over here. So for section in race 50, right? Print found section, section ID. So you'll see that works. Race is 50. And we'll do the same thing for down below, right? Same exact thing, but race v2. And that was found again. So we've covered a lot so far, right? And this is just based off of some HTML that I generated for a fictitious running website, right? Ryan data races, 50 and 100 miler races, right? Those are my go-to races. But now what we're going to do is go back over here and use a real website. So as I mentioned in the last video, right? I don't want my video to be taken down for scraping. So what I'm going to do is just use a website that allows for scraping, which is Books to Scrape. So let's jump into that, right? So go over here and say website examples, and let's start off with that, getting this prepped. So what we're going to do first is type in our URL. We're going to say URL equals, and then we're just going to grab in the Books to Scrape URL. I am just going to copy this in like that. All right, bookstoscrape.com. Great. We're going to get a response. So response equals request.get, pass in the URL, have that there. And then lastly, we're going to say soup equals Beautiful Soup, right? Response.text, text, and then pass in HTML parser, parser, and you should be good to go. Nope. It's going to be text like that. Now we're good to go. And yeah, so let's jump into our last few examples with this real website. If you're not familiar with this website, let me just show you this really fast. All right, so here's the website Books to Scrape. I mean, this is a very simplistic website, but honestly, it's a really good way to get your feet wet when it is dealing with scraping. And this is a website that I started on before I started taking on scraping jobs. So I feel like it's really good for these tutorials. And yeah, let's jump right into our examples on here. So we're going to start with example 15. So what we're going to do is select the category links. So select category links from the sidebar. And I'll show you the code, and then we'll just jump into the website, right? So we're going to say category links equals soup.select. And what we're going to do is pass in this over here, ul.nav list ula, like that. Right. And then we're going to print all these out on this side of things. So for A in category links, and say print a.textstrip. Right. Then we're going to say URL plus href plus a href like that. All right, and just to show you what the website code looks like for the section, right? So we're grabbing the A and the category links, which again, category links, we're grabbing this over here. So how I always do this is I just go in here and I inspect the element of the area that I want to look at, right? So this grabs books, right? Each of these are in over here under an unordered list, which we factored in on here, right? And then under order list, right? Each of these have a specific link associated with it. And you can see we have travel, right? So href is category travel to index, right? And you can see travel to index. And one thing I added in over here too, and you'll find this happening on a lot of real websites, they don't put the full URL, right? Like you can see it just says catalog, category, right? So what I did is I passed in a URL, which is what we have over here, books to scrape. So that's how we get travel, right? We're getting the A text on here, which again, if you look at the A text, right? href, we have travel. Okay, so that grabs that. We're grabbing the URL, which we have over here. And then we're grabbing the href, which I showed you earlier, how to get the link, right? And we're combining that together. So we print the text, space, and then we have the href over here at the URL concatenated together for this link, right? And we're just looking for that nav list, which we have over here, right? Nav list. And you can see the nav list has all of this over here, right? Unordered list, nav list. We're looking for the unordered list, A, right? And that's on our unordered list over here, right? Grabbing our A. And that is how we are grabbing that section. Okay, so example 16, we're going to say soup.select, grab all book containers. So all book containers, right? And then what we're going to say is books equals soup.select. And this time we're going to say article.product pod h3a, like that. Right, and then if I go over here to books, we have all of the books on this side of things. And again, let's just take a look at the code. So how I'd start off with this is take a look at an inspect element, right? And we're trying to grab this book name. So just like over here, inspect, and just work your way down, right? So we have H3A, which they go up over here. We have H3A, great. And then go back up above over here, right? And now we just need to find the next section. Let me close that over here. We have article product pod, right? So article.product pod. So you can see product pod is this. We're looking at each of the product pods, right? We're going in there. We're looking for the H3, and then we're also looking for the A. So go into article, right? Again, article, class product pod. Okay, that's this over here. And then inside, we're looking for the H3 and the A. H3A, H3A, and now we have all of the books. All right, now let's just go and get the text for each of these books. So example 17, get text for each book, right? So books equals soup.select article.product pod H3A, which we did above, right? So I guess I didn't need to type that out, but that's fine. And this time we're going to just do a for loop. So for book in books, print book.getText, like that. and you can see all of those have been grabbed on that side of things. All right. So now what we're going to do is grab some information to create a data frame. So example 18, create a data frame, which is super, super common with scraping. Like, you're going to have to know how to do this. Also, so we'll say books equals soup dot select article dot product pod, like that. Great. And then what we're going to do is say book data equals this over here. And then we're going to say for book in books, title equals book dot select one, because we're only going to grab the one thing. It doesn't really matter too much, but we're going to say h3a, the title, like that. Then we're going to grab the price. It's going to be very similar. Let's say book dot select one. And then this time, and over here, we're going to say the price color dot text. All right. Rating equals book dot select one. Let's say p dot star rating. We're going to grab the class. Negative one on the index. And lastly, what we're going to do is book data dot append. And we're just going to append all this in over here. Right, well, title, you grab the title, we have price, append the price, and we have rating, grab the rating, like that. All right, we should be good here, no errors. And lastly, we're going to create a data frame. So df equals pd.dataframe. More time, 3, 2, 1. And then we're just going to pass in this book data, which we kept appending to, right? All right, and then just to show you this df.head, we'll just put 10 in over here, right? We have the title, price, and then we have the rating on this side of things, you know, the amount of stars. Again, just showing you the over here, right? So we have the star rating. See how that works. Okay. Again, we got the title. Essentially showed you that before, H3A, right? Then we have our price, which if you go over here, inspect elements, you can see it says price color. And that's why we grabbed that. We have the star rating. Again, go to our star rating. Star rating on this side of things. And then lastly, we just append everything together. That's how we have this over here. Now we're just going to clean this up. Essentially what we did last video, right? So, and why I put this in this video is not everyone watches the entire series. Some people just watch one video at a time. So you maybe you're in here selectors, trying to scrape for the first time. And it's going to be very common to clean up your data after you grab it from website. So we're just going to say clean our data. And what we're going to do on here is say df price clean. So price clean equals df price .str.replace. I'm just going to pass this in over here because I don't know the keyboard shortcut for it. But we're just going to convert this over here. This is in pounds right now. So we're going to convert it to USD. We have that. The exchange rate, I grabbed this like a month ago when I prepped this video. I'm recording now in June. I prepped this video in early May. I try to do that with a lot of videos. So exchange rate probably has changed. I'm not going to change it over here. It depends what happens with world news. And world news is crazy day to day. So a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. We'll say price USD equals df price clean. Clean like that. And we're just going to say times the exchange rate. Change rate. well, I just had it as exchange here. My example code, I have it as exchange rate. That's all right. All right, next what we're going to do is say df price USD. We're just going to clean this up with the lambda. So price USD. I apologize. This is a little slightly different on the website, just based off of capitalization and stuff like that. I'm looking at it right now, but regardless, a lot of the code will be the same. Apply. We'll do a lambda x. We're just going to do over here and turn this into dollars. X. 2 decimal places. Should be good there. All right. And then also, oh, the one thing I didn't mention, I said clean data. Also, my notes, I said and filter for 5 stars. So I'm like, why did I have a 5-star on here? Filter for, and again, I prepped this code so far in advance. I forget what I did sometimes looking through it. So I actually am going to filter for 5 stars also. So we're going to create a new data frame. We're going to say df 5-star. Oh man, we're going to do a df.lock or loc df rating equals 5. Right. Then we're just going to grab the title, price USD. Because you don't need the ratings anymore. Price USD, I had all lowercase on here. All right. That should be it. Make sure ratings lowercase. It is. All right. So now we have our 5-star data frame. And just to show you what that looks like, df 5-star. And lastly, to wrap up this video, just exporting this out. So export. And if you're new to pandas, right, I have a ton of pandas videos here on the channel. So highly recommend you learn pandas. It goes hand in hand with web scraping. So 5-star. You can say to CSV. And then just put a name. I'll say scraped book data.csv. And you can essentially do the same thing on here. Change this to XLSX and then just change it to Excel. And you are done. Congrats. We went through a lot in this video for selectors. Feel free again to check out the article. That's going to be linked down below in the description. Also, in the future, I'll update the article and add in even more examples. If you're watching that, my goal is to try to make the articles even better than the videos. It can be awkward sometimes, coding and all that. So again, just to recap, like, feel free to use find all, select one versus select. Personally, I prefer find all and then also select. But use what you want, right? You can even combine them together for different use cases. I showed you that in the code, right? Again, you can grab different elements. It just depends like how easy it is to grab stuff from a web page, right? Experiment. Sometimes use find all, sometimes use select. Showed you in both videos how we could essentially grab ratings, price, book names, links, everything from the same website, and also that same HTML code minus some few other additions for over here. But yeah, that is essentially select. And thanks guys for checking out. Thanks guys for checking out our lesson on selectors. If you found it valuable, make sure to subscribe to the channel. With a link for all the code down below, as well as link to our Discord server. I'm also taking on freelancing projects and also help on one-on-ones if you need any data mentorship or help with freelancing. Anyways, I'll catch you guys in another video. If you want to continue this web scraping playlist, it is right over here. See you there.